Back on the show, you know who he is, the Asian sensation, Andre Soukhamthath. He's going to be taking on Sean O'Malley at UFC 222 on March 3rd. Andre, what's going on? How are you?
Hey, James. How are you, man?
I'm doing very well. What are you drinking right there? That looks pretty good.
Just one of my coffees. I just made it look a little fancy with the foamy milk.
Okay, that's cool. What any particular brand you go with? I know fighters are sometimes particular about their coffee.
I drink Nespresso. I have an espresso machine.
Oh, nice.
So it's really good. I got it as a gift because my sister-in-law works there, and I've been hooked ever since, man.
Yeah, that's good. It's important to get that caffeine in. Being a dad, I'm sure.
Oh, for sure. I need at least 2 a day.
Yeah, for sure. I hear you on that. That's great. Let's talk about this matchup, man. It seemed like this kind of came together, I think, on a podcast or social media or something, but I know this was sort of formulated and it came together. What's sort of the backstory of how this matchup came together?
I think I actually, after my last win, and one of my friends, Kurt, he interviewed me, and I usually give him, we're good friends. I fought him, you know what I mean? And I fought him at CES, and he interviewed me, and he was like, he was like, give me some names. Who would you like to fight? I was like, I'm not really the type to call out names, but I think I gave him a couple, and I said Sean O'Malley was one of them. And I gave him permission to just put it out there. And I didn't think it'd be anything too, I didn't think it'd get so big, but the news got out, and because he's still a fairly new podcast, but the news got out, and that's what happened. I guess he heard about it, and he was on the podcast too, and he was just saying that he wants to fight me. He wouldn't mind fighting me and his next moves, and he was calling me a dork and stuff. He obviously doesn't know me because I'm far from a dork. Yeah, nothing wrong with being a dork, but
right. I hear what you're saying. Yeah.
Dork. I mean, come on. I carry much more swagger than he ever can, and for him to call me a dork is just really stupid, really funny, And I saw him in Fresno. He was staying in the same hotel. I think he's Luke Sanders' teammate, so I saw him in Fresno, and the funny thing is he was the one that looked like a dork. He had his hands in his pocket, he had his curly hair, walking around like this, and we made eye contact, and he's like, "Hey, bro," and I'm just like, "Okay, what's up? How you doing?" So the sugar show, whatever, the persona that he wants to put on, I saw how he really acts, and he's really not like that all the time. I think he's just trying to be cool. But hey, that's fine with me. I'm real all the time. That's all I can say.
That's true. That's true. They should see the type of crowds that were showing up, when you fought in CES. It's pretty crazy. So, obviously there's a lot there. So obviously you're familiar with him, his big win on the Contender Series and everything like that. But I wanted to get your thoughts. You mentioned being in Fresno. Did you see his fight against Terrion Ware? And if so, what were your thoughts on that performance?
I did see his fight against Terrion Ware, and I thought he did really good. He did his stuff. He did his kicks. He worked his strength. He did get a little tired, but he picked it up. He picked it back up, and he caught a second wind, and he ended up edging out the decision. So he took the pressure, and he handled it well, and he even mixed it up. He went for a takedown. He got it. He got a couple. So I think he did really good, especially it was a co-main event. It wasn't a big show, but it was a co-main event at Ultimate Fighter finale, and I respect him, man. He's a good fighter. There's nothing, no doubt about it. He's a good fighter. He does good. He does well under the lights. I'm not looking past him.
Yeah, for sure. How do you feel like you match up against him, though, style-wise?
I just think it's going to be a great fight. It's going to be an exciting fight, and that's one of the reasons. I really didn't call him out. I just kind of said, it'd be very respectfully. I said, I think that it'd be a great matchup. He's got a lot of hype behind him. Dana White loves him. Snoop Dogg loves him. Whatever. And then you get me. You get me and my loyal fans. It's a small army versus a big army, but my army, we're gonna fight to the end. You know, from the coaches to my fans to myself, we're gonna fight to the end. You know, his army is just a bunch of bandwagoners, just going with what's cool. So it's going to be really exciting fight. The anticipation is going to be really exciting, and it makes for a really good show for the fans.
Yeah, and I mean, looking at this on paper, you brought up some good points that, he has all the hype, coming from the Contender Series, being, from the MMA lab, the whole thing with Snoop Dogg. But I don't think people realize, maybe on the surface, of how much you sort of carry on your back as far as, representing your people, your family, the origins and everything is from Laos. Obviously coming from where you grew up to, now living in Florida. There's a big army out there. It's very clear. I referenced the CES days when, people would show up and really support you. What's that like, bringing that into a fight like this where, people look at you as probably the underdog, but really, I think you'd have even more support than he does.
Yeah, man, I got real support. That's the difference. I got real love. People from my city, from New England, from Woonsocket, Rhode Island, from Providence. That's my heart right there, man. I when I step into the cage, I feel like I'm carrying them all with me, and they genuinely want me to win. They cry when I lose. They cry when I win. You know what I mean? It's a Super Bowl every time I step into that cage. For my family, for my friends, and it's not only 10 of us, not only 15 of us. It might be 1,000 of us, 2,000 of us, but I know that every one of those people, from day one, they genuinely love me, and they will fight for me, and they're not just fans, but they're family, and that fan base is just growing. For me to be the first of my kind, the first Laotian fighter to sign with the UFC. The word's getting around, so I'm kind of like a celebrity in Laos right now, and even all there's a lot of people in America. I got people. I was in California after my fight. I got taken care of. I didn't even know these people, but I got into a nightclub. I got VIP. Everything was on the house. We ate at a really good restaurant, and it wasn't just me. It was like maybe 20 of us. Me and my wife and my team, and they took care of us, man. And that just goes with the perks. I'm not looking for that. I want to pay my dues, but they just genuinely show me that, yo, listen, we got your back. My people, my Laos people from all over the world, they got my back. Of course, I know my city, my town, my state, my region, I know they got my back. And then, it knuckles down to my family. My mom, my dad, they got my back. My aunts, my uncles. And then, my wife, my kids, man, it's deep for me, so I'm just so blessed to have that love because I feel it, and I can't wait to make every single person proud.
Yeah. And of course, the family at Hard Knocks, I know you guys are really close there too. Your teammates, a lot of them are competing right now. So I see the videos here and there that Will Harris, who does the Anatomy of a Fighter, so cool seeing behind the scenes of what you guys do at the gym. I really like seeing that. Like, you can tell there's a lot of really good camaraderie there. And that's going to be bring me to my next question. Who have been some of your main training partners for this camp? Because a lot of guys have got fights coming up.
Yeah, first of all, Will Harris is amazing. He's such a good guy.
If you haven't checked it out, go check it out on YouTube. Anatomy of a Fighter. Just really incredible stuff there.
He's actually following me whole fight week.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah,
so like an embedded thing. Okay, good.
So definitely look out for that. But my training partners been the same guys, like Sean. I'm working with Chad Skelly a lot.
Oh, great. Okay, yeah. He's been a nice addition to the team, hasn't he? He's been there for I think like a year or two now. Yeah.
Man, he has so much knowledge and he's not the most athletic guy, but man, he'll mess you up. He turns all of us into pretzels, and he's just a great guy to learn from. My coaches, Evan
Boris. We got to talk about Evan. Of course, we got to talk.
Yeah,
about Evan.
I begged Henry to keep him around for this camp because he goes back and forth, and he helps Henry out as an assistant. So I begged Henry. I was like, please, can you keep Evan here for my camp? And thank God he's doing that, and because Henry gets busy too, and Evan, Coach Greg, the same crew. Nick Lance is a nice addition to the team. Sean, but I'm learning a lot from these guys. The guys that have been there. Even Luke Rockhold started giving me some advice. Rashad, AJ still talks to me. Man, I just have a great team. I still do work at the Combat Club with Herbert Burns and the staff over there. The thing about me is I keep good relationships, man. So even if, a team broke up or if I go and train at another gym, I will always be welcome back there because I keep good relationships and I'm loyal, but I'm also in it for me. So if there's a place that I need to go learn something, I'm gonna go.
Excellent. That's good, man. How do you see this fight sort of playing out on March 3rd?
I see it being really fast paced. I see me um, I see us meeting in the middle, and him throwing his kicks, me throwing mine. Um, Someone's gonna get caught. It's not gonna be me. It's gonna be him, and he's either gonna go to sleep or he's gonna be like, "Oh shit, this kid really does hit hard." And I always say that every time we have an interview. I look skinny, I look tall, and I look like I don't carry much power. I look like a little pretty boy, but I'm sure all my opponents can vouch that I can hit. And my last opponent, his teammate, I'm sure he can vouch that too.
Yeah, and even go back a couple fights, the Cody Nordby fight. I mean, go look that up if you haven't seen it. That flying knee, that was amazing. That's one of my favorite highlights. So obviously O'Malley's got a lot of hype, like I mentioned. He's got the 9-0 record. He's undefeated. Where do you feel like a win over him sort of puts him, especially if you get a finish? I mean, you could be right back in the in the heap of the bantamweight division.
Oh man, I think that I'm in the heap right now. They gave me a 5-fight contract. I don't know if you knew that.
That's right. I did see that on social media. That's awesome.
Yeah, so they signed me to. Who gets signed to a 5-fight contract with hey, decent money? I'm not complaining at all. With decent money, a 5-fight contract, being 1-2 in the UFC. You know what I'm saying? Usually they would be like, all right, let Andre fight another time, and then we'll see if we really want it. But they obviously know that I can fight. They obviously see that I'm growing in the octagon. And I really think that a lot of bantamweights they have their eye on me. I just gotta go out and prove some more and do my job and win. As it goes for the UFC, I'm gonna steal this hype. I'm gonna knock down the hype train, and there's gonna be a lot of people tuning in for me, and there's gonna be a lot of people tuning in for him too. But people will see, who the real OG is in this game, and that's me.
Last question for you here. What are you watching on Netflix right now? I know you're a dad, so you got to probably watch all the kids' shows. But are you and the wife getting to watch any shows right now?
Yeah, we still watch the same stuff. Like we don't have Netflix, but we have cable. I know it's 2018, we still pay for it, right?
No, that's good, man. That's good. Yeah.
But no, we watch our shows. Chicago PD, Med, Fire, same shit, and of course all the UFC fights. And we're watching a show called The Four right now that P Diddy owns. I'm a sucker for music and talent, dancing, singing, entertainment. So it's a really good show. It has like all these upcoming YouTubers and people that are really musically talented, and they're all competing on the show. So it's really fun to watch.
I'll have to check that out, and I certainly got to check out this fight. I can't wait for this matchup, man. It's coming up here, UFC 222, March 3rd. Andre, it's always great talking to you, man. I appreciate it.
James.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure, man. Just remind people where they can find you on social media, and if you got any sponsors or shout-outs, the floor is yours.
All right, guys, make sure you follow me on Andre Souk MMA on Twitter and Instagram. My Instagram is blowing up because people really enjoy my stories of my training and my everyday life. So make sure you follow me on that. I also have a YouTube channel. Make sure you just subscribe to that. Just type down my name. Real quick. You still see me? All right. Real quick, I'd like to give a quick shout out to my medical staff. They came in hard, man. They really came through. They were clutch. So Palm Beach Cryo, Alto Chiropractic, Dr. Hero, Novogenics, and Jupiter. And thank you to my sponsors, Growing Naturals and Chef Fit Meal Plans. Thank you, PG. You know who you are. What Up, Top Game Management, Hard Knocks 360, and Combat Club. And of course, thank you to my wife who does a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff for me. Medicals, flights, sponsorship. So thank you to her too.